What's up guys, the Amigo boys here, and today I want to share with you a pretty cool tool called Path of Building. Well, first of all, what does Path of Building do? Path of Building is basically every build creator's sandbox. It allows you to create and calculate various numbers and interactions in Path of Exile. It could for example be stuff that the tooltip in-game couldn't calculate, like point blank, it shocked enemies penetration, all that stuff. And it's really customizable. For example, you can also include map mods, bosses resistances, curse effectiveness, all those things. It can also be added through the program, so it's just really nice. Here are some of the things I will talk about in this video. Well, first of all, you can just go down to the description and I will provide a link for you guys. But once you click on this link, you will come to a page that should look kind of like this. And it might look kind of confusing, but basically what you just have to do is just scroll down. You'll find Path of Building here. Scroll down to the download section and head over to the releases pages by clicking this link. On the release page, you can find the different versions of the program. So generally you want to click at the link at the top, because that's the newest version. You can see this one was released 2 days ago. And yeah, here there's two different versions you can download, or not versions, but two different files. Either you can choose the executable file or the zip file, which you then will have to extract yourself. But basically the easiest one is just to click this link right here, the exe one, and then it will just start downloading. And once you have downloaded it, you'll just run it and it should install like every other normal program. It's that simple. So yeah, that's how you download the program. Once you open the program, you will come to a screen that should look kind of like this. Maybe without all the builds, because you probably haven't created any yet. But here at the main screen, you can also check for updates, and it will, if you click this, it will just basically see if there's a new option available, which there is not right now because I have the newest version. You can also go down to the options. If you for example want 1000 separators, it makes it easier for me at least to calculate the numbers or read the numbers. And then you just save it. Up here you can create a new build if you want by clicking this button. You can create a new folder, for example witch builds, shadow builds and all that. You can open a build by either clicking this button once you have marked the build, or you can just double click the build. That is probably easier. You can also copy it, like if you want to copy it, you will just rename it and it will create a new one like this right here. You can also rename it, delete a build if you want to that, or you can sort it. But basically, if you start by creating a new build right here, right now there's two versions of the game. There's the 2.6, which is in the Lime realm, and there's the 3.0, which is in the beta client. So if you want to create a beta build, you can click this link here, or if you want to create one existing version, you can click the left one. This one also has some pretty cool stuff, like the new updated skill tree with, for example, perfect agony keystone, and all the new skill gems are also in the game. But bear in mind that this is data mine value, so it might not be exactly how it is in beta, but once people find out what the values are in beta, the guy that created the program will try to update it as soon as possible. So that's a good thing. Of course, the program is pretty much nothing without a skill tree. So right here I have opened a skill tree for one of my characters, and you can do some pretty cool stuff in this program with the skill tree as well. First of all, it tells you how much damage or other stats you will gain by allocating this node. At the bottom it also tells me how much damage and other stats I will get from allocating this node and all the nodes leading to it. Another thing that's pretty cool is it shows the shortest path. So if I want to take a node that's far away, like the flask nodes, it will basically tell me the fastest path to that node, which is also really usable. Another thing is that it calculates pretty much everything. For example, if you get more life like this, it will tell you how much life you will get, but since I'm running Blood Rage, and blood rage is calculated based on how much life I have, you can also see that I'll get more degen. So it's a pretty good tool, and the green ones are generally the good stats and the red ones are the negative stats. So yeah. Another thing that's really cool is also the ascendancies. The ascendancies is not like in-game where you will click the button right here and it will access it. The ascendancies are scattered all around the skill tree, but it should be pretty easy to find because once you pick your character and what ascendancy you want, it will highlight. So this is the only one that's lighting up, that's because it's the raider that I have picked. The ascendancies work the same. You can see how much damage I will get by allocating the different points. And if you look at the sidebar, you can see all the damage stuff, which I'll cover in a moment. The sidebar is basically where every calculation is taking place. Here you can see your damage, your attacks per second, your crit chance, effective crit chance, since the tooltip crit chance is always not correct. For example, if you have a diamond flask up, that won't show in the tooltip, but it will show here. It will show the hit chance, everything, the mana cost, total DPS, attributes, life, mana, energy shield, degen, could for example be for blood rage or righteous fire, evasion rating, armor, all that. You can also see movement speed, dodge, and resistances. But bear in mind that resistances, if you want to see your resistances without flask, you'll have to turn these things off right here. Or in the configurations, do you have a flask active? No, we don't. Because you can see I'm not capped here, and I wouldn't be capped in game unless I had flasks up. But if you have, for damage purposes, want to have your flasks up, it might kind of cheat and buff your resistance up to unnecessary levels. But yeah, another thing about the sidebar is that, for example, you kind of have to mess with the levels as well, because if you generally at the start it would just say level 1, but that doesn't really show the life, because if you have, for example, here a level 100 skill tree, you won't have 2700 life at level 100, because you gain life for every level you get, so you have to type it in here for the stats to align correctly. Another thing that's really cool about the sidebar is also that you can change the bandits. This is of course a 3.0 skill tree, so there's only one bandit, either 2 passive points, Oak, Kraton or Alira. But if you take the 2.6 skill trees, there will be 3 slots where you can choose the bandits for each difficulty, like normal, cruel and merciless. Also, what you do here is you choose the skill. For example, there might be more options to calculate the damage. For example, if I have Barrage, you can either see the DPS for one arrow or all arrows. So here you can play around with the different stats as well. But the program is really not only about the skill tree. The thing that makes this program really shine compared to other offline skill tree planners is the fact that you can import your gear and items or create your own new items here. So first of all, if you want to create a new item, you can either just add items to the build, like existing uniques, where you can type in here, for example, Dev's Opus, and then you can just double click it. Here you can customize the roll range for all the stats. If you want higher or lower rolls, you can corrupt it, and you can see the implicits. These are based to the base type, so if it was a ring there would be other corruptions as well. And if it's a helm, like the rat's nest here, you can also apply enchantments. You can choose whether or not you want endgame or merciless, and for what skill you want, like Barrage here. Mainly if you don't tick this, it will just show you all the skills you have in your skill section, but if you tick this, you can get all enchantments for all the skills in the game, which is pretty cool as well. But if you want a rare item, for example, you can also craft it yourself. So if we click here, craft item, you can choose what base type you want, for example bow, and then what base you want here. If you want a harbinger bow like this, then you can choose the prefixes. For example, if you want to create a really good bow like with tyrannical and flaring, you can do that, or tempered. And then you can also choose the roll ranges here. You can have 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. You can also corrupt it and add, for example, culling, strike +1 arrow as well on top of that. Once you have done what you want with the item and crafted it like you want, you can add it to the build, and then you can find it in the item list here. This is the item list for the builds, and this is basically just databases of uniques, and this is some preset rares. The main thing is most people don't really want to like just create all their gear from scratch. So what they do is they go to import or export build, and since this is a 3.0 skill tree, it will say a warning. But if it was a 2.6 skill tree, you'll basically just click continue, and then you will type your character name in here. Make sure your character profile is not private, or else it can't find your characters. But then you just click start, and then it will start retrieving your whole character list. And if you, for example, take this character right here, the Amigo Boss Rain, enable 95 Raider in standard, you can import the passive tree and jewels. That will change the passive tree and the jewels on the skill tree, and as well as items and skills. So now you can see that my items changed, and now I use some other gear instead, which is pretty damn cool as well. You can also, for the skill tree, you can export the tree. This is the skill tree link for a passive skill tree. You can shrink it with PoE.url so it gets a lot shorter. And you can also import a tree if you have it from somewhere else. You will basically just paste it in here and you will import the build. Another thing you can do is also export the whole code, which is for the path of building. So if you want to open this on another computer or share with your friends, you can generate some code, but this is really long, so generally what you want is share with pastebin, and then you will open this link right here and it will find all the code for the build, because it's pretty damn long. So once you copy this and type it in your program, it will load all the items in the skill tree and everything, all the stats, the passives, basically like it is right now, which is pretty damn cool as well. The skill section is basically where you configure all your skills and your gem setups, as well as gem levels and quality and so on. You can also try different gems out and enable them and disable them if you want to test out how much damage they give compared to other gems. So for example, if I want to take these off and see how much damage does I get with physical to lightning, 4 million, and with elemental damage to attacks, 4.2 million. So this gem is better. This is of course right now the 3.0 version, so we also have all the new gems like Immolate, for example, right here. But these are right now just data mine values, and it will probably change once the beta ends and so on. Here in this section you can also mess around with auras. For example, you can see right now how much mana I have unreserved. So if I take this off, I will of course gain a lot more mana unreserved. So you can mess around with the auras as well. You can also hover over them and see how much damage they give and how much mana they reserve. If you want to click up here, you can create a new socket group, new gems. You can add some gems as well. You can also type in where it's socketed, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But of course, if you have +1 to gems in your body armor, for example, it will change and affect the gem levels of the items if they're socketed in here, if you want to specify that as well. Here you can just name it whatever you want, for example gem 1. And here you can delete all gems. Here you can delete the marked one right here. If we move over to the configuration page, this is where basically all the simulation happens. You can simulate if you're fighting against an enemy of what level, physical hit damage and all that. You can calculate, of course, what version it is, what is happening to your character, what buffs do you have, like Flask Active, Fortify, Unholy Might, Onslaught. Of course, all of this changes our DPS. If we have charges up, as well as if you are on consecrated ground, ignited. Most of these things doesn't really change that much, but if you have unique items that give you more damage while ignited, or attack speed, like Moku's Embrace, that will of course change our DPS. But in this case it doesn't, since I don't use those items. You can also here type in more stuff, like for example projectile travel distance. This of course changes our damage if we're using point blank, which I am on this character. So you can see here how much damage I lose once they travel. Is my crit chance lucky? Yes it is. I'm using a diamond flask, but I already have stated that the flask is active. And blinded, shocked, all of these things. Like shocked will give me a lot more damage as well. Is the enemy a boss? You can stay here. If it's the standard boss or a Shaper or Guardian, it will factor in the resistances. So against Shaper and Guardian, my damage will be way lower since they have a lot more resistance, and so on. You can also see here less duration of bleed, poison and ignite, and all those things. Reduced effectiveness of curses, etc, etc. Here you can type in the resistances manually, and over here is the map modifiers and player debuffs. It could for example be if the enemy is hexproof. It will of course reduce my damage since I'm using elemental weakness on hit. Elemental equilibrium, cannot leech. All of these are basically map mods where you can simulate various maps and various situations in game. So this is basically what the configuration tab is all about. But anyways guys, I think that was all you need to know about the program, so I will not waste your time anymore. But thank you so much for watching, if you watched all the way to the end. And I hope you guys will click that like button and subscribe, and maybe see you next time in my other videos. But then again, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you guys next time. You can also check out my Twitch or my build guides on the forums if you want to do that. I'll link them down in the description. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.